Hey everyone, DB Sar here. Guess you've all been waiting for this video. The anticipation must have been crawling for you for quite a while for everybody regarding the LT1 lantern. Just give me a moment here. I'm going to turn this thing off. There we go. Okay, let's turn on, because tonight the power is out in the trailer in the RV. So we're just going to be running everything on all the original version 1, version 2, and the LT1 samples. So here's the actual version 2. I'm just going to set that right there. Version 1 was over there running on medium mode, and the first sample I sent, I have the top added onto it, which we'll go through later regards to the accessories. So we're going to turn that on and drop it down to a couple modes, and I'm going to hang that one up. There we go. Now we have lots of light, you can see. So yeah, let's go through the final sample that I give a thumbs up for, because I really like how this has turned out, and I'm really impressed with everything on this thing that Barry and Sulfurn have done. It's really good. We're going to start off with the fact that the switch now is orange instead of the green like the Q8 and the other ones. It's more like close to a glow of a campfire, coal, something like that. So I really like this tint, especially as the night light, things like that. It's not glaring. It's just great night light. And again, you can change the brightness of these things down to a lot. You can turn it off. You use low, high, or blinking, and I kind of leave it on high. That way it's a great night light, and plus it's an indicator. It's just one of the features of the great firmware called Anduril, made by created by Toy Keeper of the group, and very amazing job on this firmware. It's every mode is perfect. So yeah, back to the lantern itself. Again, it's very durable and much. I really like the design of it, and the top has been redesigned, as we spoke about before. The original one had the bail handle on the outside, whereas this one now, it's inside the groove. If you can see, it fits inside, so it has this little notch when it's hanging that somebody suggested we did that, so that way it's always centered wherever it's hanging on a hook or it's a lanyard or things like that. So it just folds down into its own little notch, and it's just great because this thing removes a little bit of weight, adds a bit of surface area for cooling, and the bail handle hides inside, which makes it easier for adding the actual top upper reflector, which we'll get into in a moment. So yeah, so I love how the top is designed. They did add the groove in here. The only issue with that, it's not as deep as I'd like it to be, because the O-ring can pop out. But the problem is that you couldn't really go too deep because the shade runs up underneath this, and there's also another O-ring inside. But it does help. It'll help protect the top, add a bit of a bumper. So if you put the O-ring that they sent along with, it fits in there. It just needs to be a little bit tighter. So yeah, so you can tip it over. It's not going to damage thing. And regards to durability, this thing is tough, because this one up here I've thrown down over stairs. I dropped it on the floor, from meter high onto wood floor. Dropped it on the ground, just toss it around. It's banged up, it's dented, it's scratched, stuff like that, but it still works. I didn't break it, and I've broken plastic ones a lot easier than what abuse I've given to that thing. But yeah, so we're going to go down to the lens. They sent along 3 different lens shades. I think we spoke about that in the actual chat. One was almost clear, the other one was sort of a little bit more frost, and then there was one with the heavy frost. The advantage of the clearer ones, it transmits more light. It doesn't block so much. But if it's too clear, it creates a little bit of hard light shadowing. So I went with number 2 frosting, which give it a higher percentage of light transmitted, so it's a little bit more efficient that way. And it still blocks all the glare. It's still, if you look closer, you can probably see. Not at that moment, I might have to actually turn it down. Let's turn it down a notch. And you can see the LEDs inside. Now right now it's set at around 4K. Now as you can see closely, the LEDs are in a different pattern than the original design. Because the original design had the LEDs like placed around here. Cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, warm. So what would happen if it was sitting down and then turned on lower modes, you'd see a pattern of cool white, warm white, cool white, warm white. So I redesigned that by placing the LEDs linear to each other, so that way they mix better. So now the tint is much more even around the bottom end. So yeah, so the LEDs are designed. That was something that we asked for a design change, and that was done perfectly. Tripod holes, again, the bottom one is still there, and you've added the side one, which is going to be eventually used for the directional filter that we're talking about, or reflector, I should say. That'll become with accessories kit and an ongoing thing. The only other issue I found on this is, you remember back with the Q8. If you unthread it, it'll lock out. You thread it back on, it'll turn back on. The threads, I think, is the anodizing. Maybe it's just a sample, so maybe the production ones is going to be a little bit thicker thread, because if you actually unthread it, it doesn't lock out quite right away. You have to unthread it a long ways almost take it off to get it to actually lock out. So I think there's still some metal contacting in the threads a little bit more, but which is, you know, it'd be nice to have it a little thicker so that you can unthread it a quarter turn like Q8 and lock it out. But it does have, you know, a good lockout mode. You click it 1, 2, 3, 4. Look at that sexual flame mode. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now it's locked out. So it's basically like the FW3A. You hold it down, it comes on alone, it comes off, and turns the button off. But then 1, 2, 3, 4 turns it back on. But yeah, it would be nice to have that locked out, but it's not critical. As for the rest of the design, it's been great. They moved the actual charging LEDs indicators that were alongside the actual USB-C port, which is what's there, under this really good sealing cover. The cover seals really nice, to inside the switch. So when it's charging, it's green, or when it's charging, I meant to say it's red, and when fully charged, it's green. And like the other sample I tested, because of the TP5100 is a really nice charging chip, I'm just going to demonstrate this using my X-Dragon power bank, which has a built-in folding solar panel. I don't know if you've seen these before. It has 4 panels. This thing is really good. It's probably one of my favorites, because I've had this thing 2 years. I've never plugged it in to charge it. I've always opened up, just threw it in the sun for all day, and it charges up. So you plug it into a power bank, or, you know, a wall adapter, or in any USB power supply that can supply at least 2 amps. Okay, with the batteries removed, the light stays on green because it thinks it's charging something. But then you can turn the lantern on and still use it without the batteries itself, using power banks, wall adapters, even, you know, larger heavy-duty power supply units, or plug it into the wall with your wall wart, and it'll run continuously, and you can still ramp through all your brightness and things like that. But while it's on, the switch actually turns red, which is kind of interesting. So it thinks it's actually charging. I guess it's because of the load tricks the charger into powering the lantern. So if you turn it off, it goes green. So if you unplug it, then it's off. But then when you thread it back on the batteries, on the base, it goes back to orange. So it's like, it's an interesting feature that we didn't expect to come with that, but it's nice to have, so that way you can power the thing without having to have batteries into it, or without having the battery tube on the light. So yeah, but overall the design is really nice. Like, compared to the lighter plastic ones I've had, you know, these blow over in the wind, stuff like that. This thing is going to blow over too easy. It's much heavier. It's not a really good backpacking lantern like some of these smaller, you know, lighter weight ones, stuff like that is. But the big advantage is, like, you know, remember these things here. Somebody actually posted a review on one of these. One is actually AAA batteries. You know, you get 3 hours on runtime on high. This one has a 19650, a 14500 in it. It's got a built-in charger. It gets about 2 hours. And it's probably around 300 lumens, 250 lumens. But, you know, they are what they are. I broke one already because it's all the plastic handle actually broke off. But again, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to design this lantern, is design something that will last. Because, you know, I have all these right in the background. I've broken those a few times. Buttons fell off, they get damaged, and things like that. I wanted something that's actually built good and tough, and have the features that most everything else lack, like being able to change the tint, excellent runtime, being tough and durable, being heavy enough to be sturdy, rechargeable batteries, high capacity, you know, good, just a good general design in the whole thing, and great tint, great CRI, stuff like that. That's something you can never find in any of these lanterns you buy, except for if you get the really expensive ones that's over $100. Some Cabela's, I think, has one for like $125. It still doesn't come close to what this is. So once this goes into production, I'm going to order my personal lot, and I'll be getting rid of these. These will be going to, like, friends. I'll sell them in yard sales or something. But yeah, everything's good. Even the screw in the top, which is, I'm amazed at how well that's done. It's not a generic screw. It's one that they machine at aluminum, and you can open with a dime or a nickel. It's really well done. The quality and craftsmanship in this is beautiful. Just the finishes, the anodizing itself, or even the test sample. Again, the tripod hole is also added to the side. We requested that because originally it was put on the bottom. So you can stand it on a tripod, and this is going to be used for a reflector, like I mentioned later on. Speaking of reflectors, I have these little bowls. This is just one of the things I've been testing. There's the yellow one. Basically, I think it was a dollar store one. I just cut a hole in the bottom so it fits over the top. And it makes a great reflector, because when you look closely here, if I set it on something like a table, white, and turn it up a little bit, as you can see, there's a little bit of a shadow around the bottom. And you look at the brightness of the light here. Let me turn this one off. There we go. And as soon as you put this on, the light down here gets almost twice as bright, and that shadow disappears. So when you lift it up and hang it straight up, it's much brighter. So if you hang this above a table, or if it's on a ceiling, or sitting out high on a shelf, this upper reflector works great. You take it off, then it lights up the whole area. So yeah, so this would be something that's designed for the actual kit. This was the yellow one that you remember seeing from the pictures, which makes it great for like a table lamp, with adds a bit of aura. But again, I don't know how much it would cost to get something like that made in yellow. But yeah, and all they have to do really is add the BLF LT1 logo here, and he's going to add Sulfur, maybe YDSR or something like on the bottom, and maybe a serial number. I don't know, maybe across the bottom underneath, but the logo is going to go underneath the switch on that. Yeah, but everything else regarding this, it's perfect as far as I'm concerned. It's ready to go. It gets my thumbs up, a green light to be cast into production. The only thing I said I'd like to see them maybe do is add a little bit more anodizing to the thread so it can lock out when we do turn out like that. The firmware that the Toy Keeper developed is absolutely perfect. The tint ramp with the auto ramp on each end. I don't know if I did actually go through that. So basically what you do is when you hold it down after the third click, it'll blink at the end of the tint ramp and it'll blink again. So now when you ramp, it changes the actual tint along with the actual brightness. So, and then you do the same thing, hold it down, it'll blink when it reaches the end of the ramp, and then it'll blink a second time to go into auto mode. Okay, there's just a standard low, or in warm mode I should say. So if you hit it, 1, 2, 3, goes to the other end, you probably see the blink, then it blinks again. There's the second one. Okay, now it's in the auto mode. So 1, 2, 3, hold it down. It goes now to the cool, actually to the warm side. So what it does, it reverses it. Blinks once, hold it down again. Now you have the full 5K at the full brightness, and as you turn the brightness down, it gets warmer. So it's actually an auto tint, which is, once you learn to use it, it's pretty straightforward. I really like that feature. She did a really good job on adding that. And it's easy to change. Right now it's a step mode, so you just go 1, 2, 3, and right now it's into the ramping mode. So it's like if you like to ramp, and the ramp actually has a lower floor. So if you, as you can see right now, it's on the warm side. So it's more like a night light, or I should say firefly or moonlight or something like that. So yeah, the Android software is perfect. The driver design, when I looked at it, Alexa did a great job on that. The thing is amazing. Everything, the circuitry is all there. And you still have the ability, if someone wants to reduce the total amps, say if you're using lower cells, like I have the other one reduced down. You probably can't see it in the video, but there's little soldering blobs over each of the cells. One thing you can take remove some of those, and it'll lower the actual total amperage. And also you can change the charging output from 1.5, I believe, down to 0.75, depending on your type of charger. But I just left that one on a full 1.5, which seems to work fine. With the 10 watt, I can get like 1 amp. But with the charger, I reduced the actual other one down to 0.75, and it seems to be more stable using a smaller, weaker solar charger. Or if you're using like a 1 amp power plug or power adapter, it doesn't get so hot. Because when I plug this one into this gets really hot, because it's trying to pull, the 1.5 amps from that. Because this is not a fast charger, this is just the Samsung regular one. Whereas the other one, limited at the 3/4 watt or 0.75, it doesn't get so hot. But it takes longer to charge, as expected. So yeah, so that's really user discretion. For modifiers, they can do that. They can reduce it or increase it. Same thing with the 7135s. And as for changing LEDs, which is very easy to do, you just remove a screw, pop it up, unsolder the 3 wires, and you can just swap LEDs on the board if you're able to, I should say, flow LEDs on things like that, or you can order other boards, maybe see how the Sulfur works that. But yeah, the lantern is great. Everything I like about it, everything I tested. I spent 7 hours last night, banging this around, taking it apart, testing, looking at things, and going through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and it's ready to go. Definitely ready to go. It's been 3 years in the making, no doubt, trying to design and build something and working with the team. And it's been a great time doing this, and basically come up with something that replaces what all this does. And all these are modified, and it still doesn't compare to this. It's like basically, this is offering what consumer lanterns don't have, because they have the limitations. There's always a bad tint. They run on D-sized batteries, AA batteries. The rechargeables, a nickel cadmium or something like that. And it's just just all plastic. The switches fall off, and some of these things you pay a lot of money for, which gets expensive. But for the group buy, let's hope the price is good. Even this thing is worth more than the $100 ones that I've seen and tested. And just because of the features that it has, the ability to runtime was a big key factor, and having a user-friendly software that, once you understand it, has so many features to the thing. The candle mode, the lightning storm mode, has hidden the strobes, the tint ramp, and the actual brightness settings. And again, you can change the actual brightness of this as well by using the 7-click method from off. Yeah, but it's ready for production. Let's do this. Have a good night.